So, the Powerpuff Girls are getting a reboot. Okay, I don't usually like to make preemptive judgments against shows or movies, but I will say that the odds are against the reboot being good. Instead of bogging this video down with all of these arguments, I want to talk about the original Powerpuff Girls and the most telling sign that this isn't going to work. Why do people want spin-offs or reboots of their favorite shows? In the case of the original Teen Titans, there are stories in areas they haven't explored. In some other cases, it's shows that were cut too soon or they were in their prime when they were cancelled. The original Powerpuff Girls does not fit into those categories. I like the original show, obviously. I've talked about it a lot, and I find it really good. Before it hit seasonal rot. And it hit it pretty bad. Worse than Dexter's Laboratory. Saying that the Powerpuff Girls needs a reboot is like saying that Rugrats needs a reboot. I mean, ignoring the spin-off that already exists, the Powerpuff Girls towards the end kind of hit the bounds of its ideas. Season 5 and 6 were particularly bad. Most of the episodes were one long continuous fight scene or some kind of weird experiment. One episode, the girls get sunburned and spend the entirety of the plot peeling. In another episode, the girls are wetting the bed. Him and Mojo Jojo fight a custody battle over the Rowdy Rough Boys. I'm saying that the reboot has a lot to prove, and the it's just for kids stuff the Teen Titans Go espouses is not going to cut it. Rebooting the Teen Titans in and of itself was a good idea, because there were stones left unturned. If that failed, the worst thing that you could consider it would be botched execution. If the Powerpuff Girls reboot fails, it's a sign of creative stagnation and cashing in on old trends. What I'm saying is, good luck. You're gonna need it. You don't have much to work with. You want proof of that? Let's take a look at one of the episodes from their seasonal rot era, Girls Gone Mild. The subject of one of my most annoying reviews I've ever had to make. Why is this episode so annoying to review? Well, you know those episodes or movies where the writer really wanted to get across a message so much that they forgot they're actually trying to tell a story? Yeah, it's one of those episodes. First of all, like Town and Out, this episode has no actual beginning. It starts with these two assholes here saying that because there are a lot of kids pretending to be superheroes, Professor Utonium needs to sign a contract that the girls won't use their superpowers. Alright, first of all, these two here are Stan and Sandra Practice, a shameless and obvious strawmanning of the standards and practices that dictate what you can or can't show on television. These characters are designed to be rich, snooty, detached from reality, and obnoxious.
The city of Townsville is very concerned about the Powerpuff Girls' influence on their children.
Let's start with the fact that this episode would work a lot better if we actually saw kids imitating the Powerpuff Girls and getting hurt because of it. Oh wait, that would give these guys a leg to stand on, and you can't have that. That's the actual argument the standards and practices present. In this episode, the argument they're presenting is that standards and practices want to neuter the show, more or less because. Also, back in the 90s, there were two types of married couples, the idiot husband and the prudish all-knowing wife, and the clones, who were more or less the same character. The former is more annoying, but the latter is lazier. These guys here are the latter.
You haven't been watching the news lately. There seems to be an awful lot of Townsville kids pretending to be superheroes.
Oh my god, next thing you know they'll be playing hopscotch. We have to do something!
The reason these kids are pretending to be superheroes is that they're trying to be like your, Powderpuff Girls.
Well, that makes perfect sense, since my girls are superheroes.
I'm sorry?
You know, you could try this thing. It's called effort. It makes the story work a lot better if you put in some effort. The stronger your opponent's argument is when you knock it over, the better that you look. And I kinda actually think that you originally had the advantage here, writers.
Understand perfectly well that the business of punching, kicking, is all part of saving the day, but it's imitatable behavior.
Because in the 90s, us kids were all punching and kicking green monkeys with oversized helmets and using laser vision on the devil. Why am I fighting a neutered argument? You know what the funny thing is? I agree with this episode that the practices and standards can get out of hand. Or at least they used to. Things are a bit different now. But this episode is making a terrible argument, or at least it's presenting the argument very, very badly. I know that not everyone who thinks that there should be some kind of standards in regards to violence or whatever in their shows is a detached idiot. What I'm saying is there's an argument to be made here. Hell, there's even a satire to be made here. But no, it doesn't want to make this argument. I have no idea why they're actually complaining, because the Powerpuff Girls got away with some pretty messed up shit in its original run.
I have a petition here signed by all the parents of Townsville.
Unbelievable. Simply unbelievable. The citizens of Townsville cannot tie their shoe without the Powerpuff Girls. If the professor doesn't sign it, he'll be sued. In that case, go to court. If someone understands the importance of the girls in the scenario, it's the law. Suspension of disbelief only goes so far, even in a kid's cartoon. We finally cut to the Powerpuff Girls, who seem a little bit annoyed, probably as much as the audience, who are bored out of their mind. In the next segment of the episode, which is most of the episode by the way, we see the slowest carjacking in all of television, and it's boring as fuck. Oh, but it's a kid show. That's kind of my point. A large segment of this episode is the Powerpuff Girls doing nothing. Waiting for the police to do nothing. What am I supposed to get out of this? That we should abolish all standards and practices, or that kids shouldn't call 911 in an actual emergency because the cops are all useless? You know what does this argument better? Family Guy's PTV, because it actually mixes comedy into the message. A similar case is done in Gumball's The Safety. If you feel so strongly about this message that you feel like you need to neuter the counter-argument, you should at least make it involving. In terms of an actual story, no one is at risk, so you can't get invested. The pacing is slow and plotting, and anything that could be considered comedy is anti-humor.
The city of Townsville, without the involvement of the Powerpuff Girls, has experienced an alarming increase in crime.
We already did this plot in a previous episode. It was called Daylight Savings. So we've got a new villain, the Dukes of Doom, and I use new in the lightest sense possible. They were stolen from the Scotsman episode of Samurai Jack. Once again, guys, a little effort, it really helps. We get another overly long scene of the Dukes of Doom destroying everything and... What the fuck? Why are people inclined to have made-up languages with absolutely no subtitles? The plot ends when the destruction gets towards the practice house. They see the destruction and keep their beliefs despite the evidence to the contrary, like a straw man would. And they finally recant only when their lives are in danger, like a straw man would. What have we learned today? I have absolutely no idea. This episode was too fucking boring to retain any messages.
Here's our generic song. It sounds like hundreds of other songs. Things are always nice in this song. That's why no one remembers it. Generic song, generic song. Some jackass wrote this in his sleep. Generic song, generic songs. It shuts up your kids so you can't complain.